Mental Health, the space where purpose meets peace and business becomes a diamond calling with Saima. Today, we are joined with the unstoppable Neena Perez, transformational coach, author, speaker, and the heart behind the Wisdom to Wealth program. From navigating deep adversity to empowering women to build soul aligned, God led business, Neena's story is a masterclass in turning pain into purpose. So grab your favorite cup of calm and let's dive in. So, Neena, you have faced deep adversity in your life. So, how did those struggles, shape the foundation of your coaching philosophy?
Well, it happened, many, many years ago. I went to school to become a leader in Christian leadership for women. And it was because of the trauma in my life. I had a lot of things that have happened to me. And through all of that trauma, I realized that I can rise above it. And I was helping so many people rise above it that I decided to take this and as a direction. So in my life, I am a chef by trade. I help people cook, so I nourish their tummies and their bodies. But this is very more impactful because you're really going into the inner healing, into the soul. And I think it's important that we take all of the things that we've been through in life and use it as a catalyst to help someone else. So that's how that started because I wrote my autobiography called Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And when I wrote it, a lot of people were coming to me saying how it really helped them transform their life and to talk about their pain and the things that they have gone through in life. And that just developed and it morphed into becoming a coach and having my own businesses and helping people. And, that's how life is, right? I mean, it takes you through a journey. And if you are wise, you're going to look at even the stuff that's hard in your life and you're going to pull out the good and you're going to use that for whatever it is you have to do for the future.
Yes. So, did faith play a role during your darkest
Oh,
moments?
100%. So in the darkest of darkest moments, I don't know that I was truly a person of faith yet. But what I realized as I started to grow and still going through really hard times is I couldn't have done anything without my faith. So my faith is very strong for me. I'm a Christian and I do believe that God is in all of it and even in the bad stuff. And people always say to me, well, then, why would, if it's so bad, like why would God allow it? Well, the world is just to me, can be a very volatile place. It could also be an amazing place. But the truth is, it's a life experience. And those things that happened to me, which were pretty traumatic, I used all of those now to help other people who are going through traumatic experiences and to let them know their value, their worth, and everything that they can do with those stories because now they're stories. They're not in it anymore. And I think that's another thing is trauma sometimes keeps you stuck in that place, but you have to realize that you're not there anymore. Now you make your own decisions. And so when you start to lean on a higher power, you lean on God and you start to realize I can do all things. I can really do what I've set my mind to do. And one faith, I don't think I would have survived without it, quite frankly.
Mm. That kind of vulnerability makes it trust in something bigger, It's rare and powerful, Nina. I think a lot of listeners are craving that kind of realignment right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I think a lot of it is also because the world throws too many things at us, right? So we're constantly in this place where we are not knowing who we are anymore. And so we're trying to do it this way because this person said it on YouTube, or do it that way because that's the way they're showing us on Instagram and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of things to contend with. And because we have so much information and so many things, like how do you run a good podcast? I mean, how do you do a good show? How do you show up every day? Like all of those things are coming at you. And the truth is if you don't, the first thing I tell all of the women that I work with is to connect with God every day as a CEO. You put him in the seat of the CEO and you really dig in. So, God, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? Why do I feel the way I feel? How come I'm a people pleaser? Why do I like to serve? I'm very strategic, God. How do I use that? And if you start to allow those things to happen in your life and you have that meeting every morning where you are spending deliberate time with your God to make sure that you can really hit that next level, the next goal, the next whatever for that day. And if we focus upward instead of around us, we will go faster because when we focus on what Jane is doing, what Saima is doing, and what this person is doing, what that, we will never find our own voice, who we are, what we do, what our purpose is, because we are too much into what everybody else is doing. So this world hits us with a lot of things, but you have complete power and authority to only follow and look at the things you choose. So if you see yourself going down that rabbit hole of, oh, that looks good, I'll do that. Oh, wait, that looks good, I'll do that. Hold on, I'll do that. You will never get anywhere. Focus on God, focus on you, focus on your purpose, your mission, and what you were created here for.
I completely agree with that, Nina. Now, you use a three-step framework, right? Healing, inner healing, behavior transformation, and co-creation. So, can you break down how the steps support someone building a God-led business?
100%. So for the inner healing pieces, because I realized that a lot of the women that I was working with, even though they come to me to build businesses, they were also just struggling with themselves. A lot of stuff is just really inner stuff and mindset. And so the inner healing piece is your belief system. What's your self talk? What are your learned behaviors? What is something that you have been doing for so long you don't even realize that it's what's sabotaging you? You know, what are your emotions? How do you feel? How do you connect? How do you reframe? Like all of those things are super important for you to get into who you truly, really are so that we can then try to transcend those. And that's the second piece. It's really about core values, defining those. What does that mean for you? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How do we design the life that you actually want, not the one that somebody told you you had to have? Because I have spoken to millionaires who don't want to be millionaires and just want to be home with their kids. And then I've spoken to people who are four and five figures who want to be millionaires. Everybody has a different goal. It just depends on what you want and what is the truth. Because we have been told so many lies that we just don't know what is the truth and what is the lie anymore. That's why I said your vertical connection, meaning you and God first, has to happen. That will align you. And it'll also expose a lot of things that you're believing about yourself that are not true. And so we take all of that, we start all the healing, we get into the transcending, we get into reframing, all that stuff. And then the last piece is the co creation, which means you, God, and I, as your support, we start building a business that aligns with your values, your faith, and purpose. So we build a game plan, we do marketing on automation. I have a whole team that does all of that piece. We talk about what your daily day looks like. You know, we start to do frameworks, all of that kind of stuff. So it's about aligning your life with what it is you want to do instead of letting the world tell you what it is you should do.
Absolutely. So, which of this do you find most people resist the most and why?
The most resistance is the inner healing piece. The co-creation they're used to, right? We're all used to being told what to do. We're all used to being, maybe put in a room where we brainstorm. We're all used to that. So we're all used to working with teams and we're used to somebody helping us with something we don't know. So that part, sometimes I get some resistance because they want to go down a place that they said they didn't want to go down. And sometimes we have to reframe that. But the biggest resistance is the inner peace because everybody has something that they don't want to let go of. That's their security blanket, right? So if they're living in fear and you try to remove fear all of a sudden, that is uncomfortable and nobody wants to be uncomfortable. I know I don't. I know a lot of people don't. So I have coaches myself in my life because I need to stay on the narrow path. Otherwise, I will find everything and anything to avoid feeling uncomfortable. So I think that's the piece that everybody struggles with the most is breaking down belief systems and realizing that they can now create their own belief system.
It's actually fascinating how we often resist the very thing that can free us. That
Yeah,
resistance can, feel like
absolutely.
this. And, that resistance can feel like control when in reality it's fear dressed up as logic, no?
Oh man, that's so good. Yes, fear dressed up
Mhm.
as logic. I love that. Yes.
It's absolute. Now, let's talk about profit and purpose. So, how do you guide women to balance building a profitable business while staying true to their values and faith?
That's a really good question, right? Because we have so many people making you so many promises. I get like, I don't even know how many DMs promising me the world, right? So I have spent like, I don't know, maybe 150,000 or so in coaches and programs and certifications and all because I've been doing this for quite some time. And what I realize is I spent lots and lots and lots of money chasing greed, chasing a dream, chasing things that I need right now, and I had to check myself because I realized, do I even want those things? And I realized I didn't. So I'm a six-figure business and I love it, but I also do what I want to do on the side. Like I said, I was a chef, and right now I teach underprivileged adults to work in the culinary field so I can help them, or the organization can help them find jobs. And I think that that is what fulfills me, is serving. Serving fulfills me. And so here's the thing. When you want to build a profitable business and you want it align to your purpose or your faith, then do yourself a favor and stop lying to yourself, okay? Don't do things just because somebody else told you that that's the best way to go if that doesn't align with who you are. One of the biggest challenges that I've been seeing most with the women that I speak to recently is that they are feeling so misaligned and they are feeling yucky about the sales services, about how to do it, about how manipulative it feels to try to close the deal, and all of that stuff. Really, if it doesn't align with you, you're not going to be successful. So, I would highly recommend that you spend some time learning who you are, spend some time with God, and also get yourself a coach that will help you do that. And what do I mean? Why do I say that? Because we as people have blind spots. We're not always going to see everything. It's so good to align yourself with someone who has your belief system, who has your faith, who knows where it is you're trying to go and has been there. That way they can guide you to that step. So I think that's the biggest piece. Find out who you are, find out somebody who aligns with you that can maybe navigate that a little bit with you, but don't put your feelings in that conviction and your authenticity and who you are. Your integrity comes first because if you can't live with you, nobody will work with you. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, that completely makes sense, Nina. So, what's a misconception people have about faith based entrepreneurship?
You know, the biggest misconception I think is, it feels, for especially, okay, so I'm a Christian, so Imma just speak from that perspective. From the women that I speak to sometimes in faith, in my Christian faith, they sometimes feel like they're not supposed to have money, or that they're not supposed to, say certain things because they're Christians and, business and Christianity doesn't mix, or business and faith doesn't mix, but that's not true. And there's many, many things that you'll find throughout scripture or whatever your faith is. I'm sure you will find entrepreneurs in your faith, right? And so I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that both can't live in integrity with each other. And that is not true. If you are a person of integrity, then you're going to be a person of integrity in your faith, be a person of integrity in your business, be a person of integrity online, in your socials, in your friend circles, in your networking, because if you are not integral, then nothing you do is integral. But if you are integral, then it doesn't matter. All of it will mesh and blend together. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions I've seen is that, yeah, right, faith and business. Okay, you're gonna at one point give up your belief system for the money. That type of thing. So that's what I've seen.
So many of us feel torn like we have to choose between mission and money, but
Mhm.
you're showing us that they're not just compatible, they are co creators.
Exactly, exactly, and that's how it should be. I don't think that you should and this is a mistake I made, so I'm speaking from experience. I don't think that we should leave behind who we are, especially if we serve God, just so that we can look good to people. When you do that, you've already broken integrity with yourself. And now you have lied and broken integrity with others. And when I first started, I didn't want to offend anybody. I didn't want anybody to not want to work with me or not be on my podcast or, not be in my business. And I said I was a Christian, but I really was very, very careful on who I told. And then one day I realized, what am I doing? What am I doing? I cannot build a business on a sand. I have to build my business on a solid foundation. And everything that I have been through in my life, I have seen God in it. He is my solid foundation. If I deny him, then I deny all things. And I just can't do that anymore. And so I will, tell all of your listeners who are listening and are struggling with this, let it go. Do not be so tied up in the world that you are not seeing where your foundation is. If you build your business on sand because you're trying to do what everybody told you to do and how to do it, when to do it, what this looks like, you are going to fail and it's going to hurt. Now, can people give you good advice? Yes. Can people maybe guide you the right way? 100%. But when you are leaving something that is really in you, especially faith, God, something that is solid in you, and you are leaving that behind to seek something else, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble real fast.
I agree. Now, you speak about co creation with God. So, what does that tangibly look like in your daily life or business decisions?
Yeah, so my co-creation with God is really intentional. So I make sure, like I said, my first mode of operation is to get up in the morning and to make sure that I don't get out of bed without great gratitude. So I need to be first grateful. Grateful I'm alive. I woke up that day. I woke up safe in my home. Um, I was able to wake up in a warm bed. Somebody like me who has, lost everything before and have been homeless. Being in this co creation space with God looks like putting Him first in what you are trying to do. So wake up in the morning. Be grateful that you have a mind, that you have legs, arms, if you have them. If you don't, like a friend of mine who doesn't have arms, but she uses her legs, be grateful, and then just be
Mhm.
have that CEO piece in the morning. If you start doing those things, just that, I'll just leave it with that. You will make it to where you wanna go.
So, have there been moments where, like, divine timing shifted your plans entirely?
Yes. So, I have had definitely times like that. So there was a time many moons ago, I was a, medical assistant, an ultrasound technician. I was a medical, I was gonna go and be a nurse and all these great things. And one day I just felt a nudge from God saying, "You know what? It's time for you to follow your dreams." My dreams when I was a little girl was to be a chef. And so I said, "Okay, God, here's the thing. If you come down here physically and you tell me I am released, I will leave my job and I will pursue it." And sure enough, like 45 minutes later, my husband comes home from work. He goes, "Babe, I have to tell you something." He goes, "I don't know what this means, but I was driving in the car and I really felt like God said to me to come in here and tell you that you are released." Do you know what that means? I nearly fell out of the bed. I couldn't believe he just said that. I literally prayed right before he got home, "God, if you come down here physically and tell me I am released, I will let it go." And sure enough, my husband comes home without even knowing I was doing this prayer and tells me the exact same phrase. I couldn't believe it. That shifted my entire life. I went from someone who was constantly struggling to went to school, became a chef. I was homeless at the time. From there, I became a six-figure entrepreneur and business owner with my coach with my chef business, which then now shifted into a coaching business. So yes, divine timing will come and knock you off your feet for sure, especially if you're somebody who is going to spend time really trying to hone in and listen to God. Absolutely.
Hmm. That kind of surrender can feel terrifying, but also wildly liberating. And it's a
Yeah.
spiritual strategy most people never learn in business schools, right?
Yeah. I think it's because we're so stubborn, right? We
Mhm.
just we're born with so many patterns and so many ways of thinking. And so we think we always know the right answer. And when you think you know everything, you know nothing. That's the whole truth. When you think you know it all and nobody could tell you anything, you actually know nothing because you're not even willing to open your mind to learn new things. So, yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yes, a big yes. Now, building a godlike bus takes faith, yes, for sure, but also action, right? So, what habits or practices help you stay aligned and motivated during setbacks?
Mm, great question. A lot of times what I do is I reframe everything. So, I have like intentional time and I got, like I said, with God in the morning. So I set my intentions for the day and I write them down. So I usually write down three intentions for the day that need to get done, like high intentions, high goals for that day. And I try to keep myself on a check for that. So I do a lot of different tools because I have ADHD, so I can get very distracted. So my phone is on do not disturb and I do not go on social media and all that great stuff. I don't do that. I have an entire VA team that is part of my business that I actually have them do that so I don't get distracted. So a lot of times you have to set up tools for yourself because you are right. Faith is one piece, action is another. Now, if you have three intentions, get them done. Time them if you have to. If your first intention is going to take you 10 minutes, put a timer on, 10 minutes, only focus. The next intention is 25, 30 minutes. Put a timer on, 25, 30 minutes. That's your only focus. And don't get distracted because I call it like the little wolves that come and steal your stuff. They come to the side. Oh, look, an Instagram post. Before you know it, you're on it for over an hour and you've wasted time. So be very, very intentional. Your time is limited. You are not promised tomorrow. You can die today. Why waste it? Do the things you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, right? Do the things you want to do. Yeah.
That's noteworthy. Now, if someone's listening and feeling stuck, where do they begin?
Ooh, that's a good one. So the first place I would be is like really sit down and start asking yourself, where do I begin? That's a good question. Where do I begin? So what do I like? What are my strengths? What do people say about me when I'm not in the room? And these are the questions you can even ask people, like intentionally. Hey, listen, honestly, what do you feel about me? What do you think about me? What are some of the characteristics that you see are strong in me? And if you don't know them, I highly recommend that. I also highly recommend that you take a marker and you write it on your mirror in the bathroom or wherever it is you go every day. And you are going to write all of the words that they tell you in the conversations that you have. So if I say, "Oh my god, you are an amazing podcast host," I want you to go and write it on your mirror, "Amazing," right? Write all of these words that people tell you because a lot of times we don't see what someone else sees in us. So start with that. Just start with asking yourself real questions. Who am I? What do I like? What are my gifts? What do I do for people? How do I feel when I do it? Just really ask yourself very intentional questions. And you are going to be able to answer those and then see what other people feel about you for real. Because there's times that we don't see ourselves in the beauty of who we are.
Sometimes the holiest thing we can do is just take the next small, faithful step, right?
Yes. Yes. And that's all it is. I mean, I could sit here and tell you a whole framework, but are you going to do all of that? No. Truth is, you're going to only do
Mm-hmm.
one thing at a time. So start with gratitude in your heart. Y'all, don't get out the bed at all until you have three things that you are grateful for. Three things. If you can't find three things, you're going to sit your behind in the bed until you find them. Okay. Which right now I can tell you that the first one would be you're in a bed. Okay. Like I said, I've lost everything. I've slept in my car. I've slept in people's living rooms. I've slept on the floor. I've did what I had to do. Right. So if you are in a bed, you don't think I'm grateful for a nice warm bed in a big house that I have now? Yes. But that took years to get here. And I was grateful even when I lost everything. So be grateful first and then go for the next thing. Who am I? Like, don't go on social media. Don't look at what Frank is doing or Jan or whoever. Who are you for real? For real. right? Because when you start to really say, what do I like? Okay, I actually, me, Nina, I love teaching culinary. It is a passion. So now I've taken that passion, even though I coach women, I've taken that passion on the side and I help people find work in culinary. That is so fulfilling, but it's because I know me and I know that I love that. So find out who you are. Do that first because if we go into all the frameworks, you're just not going to do them. It's a waste of time.
That's thought provoking. And this is more than a conversation, it was a calling.
Yeah.
Nina, you reminded us that building a business isn't just about spreadsheets and strategies, it's about healing, alignment, and working hand in hand with purpose. And for all our listeners, if this sparks something in you, don't let it fade. Take that first step and remember, inner peace is the root of better health and better business. Until next time, stay grounded and